In this video, I'll show you how I painted this Dark Angel's Primaris Lieutenant. Hello everyone, this is Jason from Warhammer Gaming, and in this video I'll be painting my first Primaris Lieutenant model in the Dark Angel's chapter color scheme. Looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Anyways, without further ado, let's get going. So the first thing that I did with this model after assembling it is prime it with gray Seer spray paint. Next, we're going to use Caliban Green in order to paint the armor as well as the inner part of the shield. Now we're going to use Corvus Black in order to paint the following areas: the belt around the waist, and the belts on the back, the gaps in the armor such as behind the knee and elbows, the cylinder that's on the belt, the pommel on the sword, and both the round and square exhaust ports on the backpack. Next, we'll be using Mournfang Brown in order to paint the leather part of the pistol holster, this square pouch on the back, as well as the leather part of the sword scabbard. Now we're going to be using Leadbelcher in order to paint the following areas: most of the back half of the gun, these little rectangles here, as well as the front of the barrel, the bottom part of the pistol holster as well as the small button in the center, the belt buckles and chains that are on the belt, the spikes that are on the knee pads, the crossguard on the sword except for the skull, as well as the top and bottom of the scabbard, not including the diamond symbols, the handle on the shield, as well as the ring around it and the wires attached to it, except for the very ends of the wires, the outer part of the cross symbol on the shield, not including any of the skulls or the ring halo. We'll be dry brushing the exhaust vents on the backpack, and lastly painting the Necron skull that's on the ground. Next we're going to paint the casing of the gun using Khorne Red. Almost forgot, we're also going to paint the handle of the sword in Khorne Red as well. Next, we're going to be applying Retributor Armour onto all the skull and halo symbols on the model, as well as the skull symbol on the chest aquila and the top part of the wings, the skull and cross symbol on the arm, and the skulls and halo on the front of the shield. In addition to that, we're going to be using Retributor Armour on the outer frame of the shoulder pads, the halo on top of the backpack, the items hanging on the chain near the belt, and the outer frame of the shield. Now we're going to be using Wraithbone to paint the feathers on the chest aquila, the robes, all purity seals, any parchment strips on the model, and the eyes. Next, we're going to apply Corax White onto the coils of the pistol and the little lights that are at the end of the thin wires on the back of the shield. So for the next steps, I'm going to be doing some edge highlighting, some dry brushing, as well as applying contrast and shade paints. As such, I think that this is a good point to go over the model and do some touch-ups to correct any errors that might have been made. Okay, I think that looks a bit cleaner now. Next, we're going to use Warpstone Glow in order to dry brush the top of the model and the top part of the legs above the knees. This will help to give a gradient effect to the green coloring. Now we're going to highlight the edges of the green armor with Moot Green. Next, we're going to use a mixture that is 3 parts contrast medium and 1 part Dark Angel's green to paint over the green armor. Next, we're going to add in a layer of Skeleton Horde onto all the parchment strips, all the paper parts of the Purity Seal, the feathers on the chest aquila, and the robes. So what I want to do now is to add in more detail to the robes. And for that, I'm going to apply Wraithbone again onto the peaks of the folds. For the valleys of the folds, where you can see it's darker, I'm going to leave those alone for now. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to do for these robes is highlight the very top of these peaks with Pallid Witch Flesh. Next, we're going to apply Nuln Oil onto all the areas I painted in Leadbelcher, the Mournfang Brown, as well as the recesses on the gun. Next, we're going to apply a coat of Reikland Fleshshade onto all the areas that I painted in Retributor Armour. So just a quick note, when I was applying the Nuln Oil onto the Leadbelcher areas, I forgot to put it onto this Leadbelcher cross on the front of the shield. So once the Reikland Fleshshade dried, I applied the Nuln Oil right afterwards. Next, we're going to apply a bit of Frostheart contrast paint onto these lights at the end of the wires on the back of the shield. And now we're going to apply Blood Angel's Red contrast paint onto the wax part of all the purity seals, the eyes, and the coils on the gun. Alright, so here's my painted Dark Angel's Primaris Lieutenant or Lieutenant model, and I wanted to provide a couple of quick thoughts on it. First thing that I should mention is that this is the first Lieutenant model of any kind that I've painted. In my opinion, it's a cool looking model, especially with its shield. I'm definitely thinking of painting another Lieutenant model in the future, but probably one in a different armor type, like the Reaver or Phobos armor. Also, this is the first time that I painted a robe, and personally I think I did an okay job. However, I probably need more practice, especially when you consider that Dark Angel specific models like to wear robes. Anyways, that's the end of my video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and be sure to check out my other social media accounts in the description below. Until next time, this is Jason from Forcehammer Gaming, signing off.